Hello ladies! In honor of our pigments retiring, I thought it would be really fun to do a remake of one of my most popular videos using some really pretty pigment colors. It has now been almost 3 years since I've made this video and a lot has changed, and I'll be completely honest with you, I think I've only tried this look one other time since creating the video almost 3 years ago. So I'm actually anxious to see how it's going to turn out myself. Little few differences. I have a little bit better blending skills. I actually have eyebrows now. But I decided to even wear the same shirt, fix my hair the same, just to have a little bit of fun. So keep watching. Okay, the colors we're going to be using today are Curious, Awestruck, Regal, and Corrupted. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with a little bit of Curious. I have it on my brush and I'm going to come right underneath my brow area. And I'm going to use this as a highlighter color. So right under my brow area, and then also I'm going to place it in the inner corner of my eyes to highlight that area. Go ahead and do it here. I've already done my eyebrows, so I'm just taking care not to mess them up. You know, it takes a few minutes to get them done, so. All right, so you see where I've placed that just for some highlighting. Let me make sure that's blended in good. Okay, so also in my last video, I went ahead and applied Regal on my eyelid, and I applied it with my deluxe brush with a damp brush. So that's what I'm gonna do now. I have just a glass of tap water. You can also use your rose water if you have it handy. I am gonna tap just a little bit of Regal out into my lid. And this is that gorgeous purple color. I'm actually really excited to do this. It's been a while since I have worn this color. And so what I'm going to do, I'm sort of making a paste in my lid. So I'm just rubbing my brush around, mixing that pigment in with the water, and it's going to create a paste. And this is what I'm going to apply to my lid. I'm going to take great care because, as you can see, this is a lot of color. Super bold whenever you apply any shadows wet. It's going to really make that color pop. And I should also tell you that I already applied some eye primer. I never apply my shadows anymore without applying my eye primer first. Let me back up just a little bit. So I'm just applying this right on my lid, like so. I'm going to bring it out just a little bit. And also with the pigments, or if you decide to wet our shadows from our palette, anytime you apply any of our shadows wet, if you'll just let them dry, they'll revert back to their original form. So when this pigment dries, which I'll let it dry just a second, it's going to revert back to pigment form, and it's going to be a lot easier to blend. I don't recommend ever blending a shadow while it's still wet. That's not going to work for you. Trust me. I know this from experience. Just putting this right here. This is so fun, actually. I cannot believe I haven't pulled this color out in a while. I have missed it. Gotta get those even though I want to blend that in just a second. Yes, I look super scary right now, and that's okay. We're gonna fix all that. So I'm actually gonna let this dry for just a couple of minutes before I apply my next color. Okay, so I've let that sit for a couple of minutes. Now what I'm gonna do is grab my Awestruck, which is a really gorgeous shimmery blue, super pigmented as well. And I just went ahead and I'm using my same deluxe brush. I've rinsed it off in my tap water. So my brush is still wet, and I'm gonna go ahead and get some Awestruck. And once again, I'm creating that paste just by mixing my brush in with the pigment to create that paste. This also helps to apply your pigments wet when you are using any kind of loose shadows. It's going to control it, and it'll keep you from having so much fallout. So I'm kind of using the tip of my deluxe brush, and I'm going to take it straight across the top of my lash line, but I'm going to bring it up a little bit higher in my inner corner area. This is exactly what I did in my last video. I tell you what, I was super bold. This isn't anything I have tried lately. I haven't tried a look this fun, so I feel like I've become boring. So I need to start practicing more with color, because the old me apparently was way more fun. So can you see exactly where I have applied that Awestruck? right here. I'm gonna go ahead and come about right here on my lid and a little bit higher. And yes, once again, we are going to blend, so don't worry about that. Oh, sorry, my nose is itching. Ooh. All right, same on the other side. Let's start with just creating a line across the top of my lash line. I'm doing this ever so carefully just because this is a wet brush and it helps me control it better. Come up a little bit higher here. I think I might need just a tiny bit more on my brush. You have to admit though, this is super fun. Super fun. I hope it turns out the way I want it to. Okay, kind of look down. Okay, so on to the next step. I'm gonna let that sit for just a second. Okay, so I just double checked and I had forgotten, but Corrupted is already sold out. So with these pigments, because they're being retired, once colors sell out, they are gone forever. So I'm gonna show you a different color you can use for your eyeliner, which is what I do in my next step on my original video. I have loved this little tip. A bunch of you gave me a tip on one of my last live videos on Facebook. So I'm gonna grab my Splurge Cream Shadow in this matte black. It's called Magnificent. And I really like this method, and I'm just gonna use the liner end of my liner shader brush. And that's what I'm gonna do to create my eyeliner. It works really, really good. You can even wet your brush a little bit if you want to. You don't have to. I have found that sometimes I like to do that and sometimes I don't. So all I'm gonna do is take that right on top of my lash line and I'm gonna wing it out as I normally do. Now I'll tell you today I would not do the liner until I'm completely finished with my shadow. But I'm following my original video just because I want to see how it turns out. I'm very curious. But yeah, today I would go ahead and apply, because I'm going to apply some of this matte black here in just a second to my crease area and sort of smoke it out. So I would do that normally and then blend everything really well before applying my liner. But again, I'm following my original video just out of plain curiosity. And so I'm going to do exactly what I did before. In just a minute, I will probably use Irate from Addiction Palette 3 in my crease area to smoke it out rather than this particular color. I really like this as a liner, but I feel like if I'm going to work with you know, a smoky look, I do better with a powder shadow versus a cream shadow like this one. So I'm just taking care to get that liner on good. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of killing me that I'm doing this so early in the game because I have changed my ways, but I'm just gonna follow along. Okay, so what I do next in my video is I apply more Corrupted to my outer V, but like I mentioned, since that color is no longer available, sadly, I'm just going to grab my Addiction Palette 3 and I'm going to use Irate, which is exactly like Corrupted. It's just in a palette versus a loose pigment. In my video, I also take my liner shader brush and I flip it around and I use the shader end. Normally today I would use my crease brush, but we didn't have a crease brush when I made that video, so once again, I'm going to stay true to my video and I'm lightly going to use the end of that brush and I'm going to create a smoky edge just on my outer V area. I'm just going to follow along right there, coming up just a little bit to where I applied my Regal. And once again, this is exactly why you probably don't want to do your liner until your last step, because I'm sort of blending the wing of my liner in, which isn't really what I want to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. All right, so there is a little bit of the Irate to smoke that out. And it's also blending a little bit of that Regal in with it, which is no problem. The trick is going to be blending all of this at the end. In my original video, like I said, I've got better blending skills now, so my techniques are different. In my original video, my completed look is not super blended like I would have liked, but you know, it's okay. It's okay. But I wouldn't wear it like that today So I'm hoping I'm gonna be able to blend this out enough that I'll be happy with it and that you guys can actually recreate this look. But that's why I'm kind of giving you some little pointers and tips on what you might want to change differently than what I did in my original video so that you can have a better look in the end. Okay, so I've got that on, and now I think I'm gonna try to blend all of this in just a second. Okay, so what I'll do now is just grab a clean deluxe brush, and this is where I'm gonna start to blend all of those harsh edges out. So I'm gonna start with the inner corner of my eye, and I'm just gonna try to get this blended. I did realize that as I was applying Irate, I blended it a lot in with my Regal. So you don't see my Regal as much, which is that really pretty purple. So if I can, I may come back in with just a little bit of that because I don't want to cover that color up because I think that's a really important color to this look. So I may try to do that here in the end. Okay, so now the tricky part is to kind of blend the area on my lid. So I have just a tiny little bit of Awestruck. I'm going to come back in with my Awestruck very carefully, and then I'm going to grab just a little bit more Regal and come in with that and see if I can't get those colors to be noticeable but still find a way to blend them. And I think what I'm going to do probably is grab my Regal, but I'm not going to wet my brush. So I'm going to just see if this works. I grab a little bit of Regal and kind of fill it into this area so you can still see the three colors. And because I'm doing this dry, it's going to kind of help with the blending process. It's not going to be as bold as it was if it were wet, but I think honestly that's okay. You're still going to be able to see the purple. I think the main thing is that you're more blended so that it doesn't take away from what you're trying to do with this look. And I may still yet come in with just a little more Awestruck, but have it dry as well, just so we can really do that blending better. I know in the beginning I did my pigments wet a lot, but I do find that I have more control with the blending if I do them dry, but you do get that nice bold color. So it is personal preference. It's completely up to you. So let me come back in with Awestruck really quick. All right, kind of get that excess off and let me put it right here, and while I'm applying it, I'm going to blend it in with Regal. So I'm sort of doing things twice, and again that's because my methods have changed. These are not the same steps I would take today applying these colors to get a good look in the end. So I feel like I'm going to keep going over just a little bit and over just a little bit, but I think in the end it's going to turn out pretty. The only thing too that I'm not super happy with is I have kind of covered up my eyeliner, so I may in the end just come back and quickly correct that a little bit. But I'm still thinking this is very pretty the way it's turning out with those colors. I mean, that's a pretty fun summer look. I'm going to come back in really quick one more time with my Magnificent Splurge Cream Shadow, define that liner. So definitely make sure you do your liner at the end versus in the middle of applying before you blend it and all that good stuff. That should be your last step before you do your mascara. Lesson learned. These are the things we learn along the way, but like I said, you got to start somewhere. And so for all of you 125,000 plus people that watched my first video, try it again and make a few corrections and see what you think. Okay, so I think that's looking pretty good. I think that's fun. I think it's a really fun summer look. I think everybody should try this if you're experimental and you just want to kind of go crazy and see what you can do with some shadows and, you know, put blue and purple together. Why not? I don't think there's any rules in makeup, so go for it. So now I'm just going to apply my mascara. So I also had to throw on my headband because, well, it's been a while, let's face it. I'm just having fun today. So here is our completed look. Let me come in. Hopefully you guys can see those colors. I actually think this is so fun, and I'm going to do this again. So don't forget, the pigments are retired. If you want to get your hands on them, you got to get them now, because once they're gone, they're gone. They're only $12.50 each. They are 100% all natural. They last a very long time. I've had these forever, and obviously some colors you're not going to use every single day. So make sure you grab some of these fun colors, because you'll probably have them for 2 or 3 years like I have. It's also 4 for $45. My website will be linked below. Have fun, and just remember, there's no rules in makeup. Thank you so much for watching, and have a lovely day. Bye, y'all.